Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to a new Rainbow Six Siege series. I'm going to be starting on the channel, covering Rainbow Six Siege, of course. I'm going to be calling this series, a Silver's Guide to Play, is what I'm going to call it. It's going to cover things such as this video, which will focus on why so many people tend to bottom frag, and why there's so many losses so much, and it will cover also lots of stuff just from me that I've learned from personal experience from playing Siege ever since 2015. So let's get right into the video. See y'all. Please like, please subscribe, please comment. Really boost the algorithm, and the more people that see this, the more randoms that won't be absolutely booty cheeks. So right here is where I start thinking about what I'm going to do. I know that there's a possible chance they've entered through main and probably already going up the stairs. But instead, I'm going to just go prone here and I hop on cams so I can immediately check the defaults. I see nothing, and I know that they have to be over at northwest and they've breached main entrance. So I ping this Ash here and give some really late calls that get the Rook killed. But now I get the information on the East and the Ash, and they have two more guys who could be somewhere. So here I start pushing down to stairwell, and right here I hear someone's on stairwell. I see him pushing. It's a ram. Didn't get her knocked. I peek over there. I place a Legion mine. So right here I make a decision that I don't think most of y'all understand. So I'm running pocket shotgun. I break that hatch. And the reason I do that is because the ram just tossed a flashbang up stairwell, so I know that I have the opportunity to be pushing down there because she's most likely focused on the stairwell. Right here, the ram transitions in the corner. I get her, and I take her out, and I'm stuck in 1v3 now. So I kill the ram, which gets us into a 1v2. They plant the diffuser, and right here I have a really important decision to make. Do I take my time and push in the hallway, or do I go up the stairwell? Well, here I make the decision to push up that stairwell, which in the end ends up being a good decision because the Twitch ends up pushing behind me. So I hear this gunshot here. I know she's down there. I'm not sure if she's right on the stairwell. I see her. I friggin' start tweaking. I somehow managed to get the kill, which I probably wouldn't have gotten if I had not played aggressive and peeked it again. By pushing through here, I get some really good comms that she's prone. Now here is a really big mistake I make that could have cost us the round. I just got comms that Ash was behind office desk and she's prone, so I probably could have just shot through that immediately, but I don't have faith in the comms. That is a very large mistake I see players making, and they don't trust their teammates. I push forward and I just decide to let it all in there, and had I done that earlier, I might have sealed the round easier. But I make it a lot harder on myself for that clutch. I do end up getting the kill, and I get the defuse with a 3K in that game, and with a 3K in that round. Well, here's another great round that proves that playing aggressive works. I pick Legion for the traps, which give me intel, and the BP. So I have two gadgets that are giving me intel either passively or actively, and that really assists me with knowing when to push and when not to push, because those BPs in that intel, until I go with the Legion with the goo mines, it really assists me because of the way that they can't really tell if they're being spotted, because a BP is honestly a lot more reliable than the default cam in my opinion, because of the fact that it you can place wherever you want, and most people, if you place it over a hatch, they'll just pretty much, they'll have no way to destroy it, because most people I've met do not destroy BPs by shooting them from the side. They always melee them. And you can't melee a BP if it's over hatch. So that is very good for BPs. And I also like to say that this isn't a one-size-fits-all thing with playing aggressive in Rainbow Six. You've got to play more. You've got to know when you have to be aggressive, and you need to know when not to be aggressive, because that is one of the biggest parts of this game. Knowing when to push and when not to push, and that is what really gives you the victories. Let's really quickly speed it up to where I want to start getting talking. Right here, I found myself a place where most people won't look, and I check outside, and right here, on this default, I always check that window, because that window is very important. A lot of people push through that, and a lot of people don't see it. So I start making my return to site, slowly but surely. I break this open, see no one is on balcony, and it's become a 3v3 in the time that I'm just sitting there. So me being alive right here instead of being dead because I was holding an angle somewhere, or I was like holding somewhere strange, it's really big. I realize the push in there. My teammate gets the frag because I make him run in there. I run in here very dangerously. I whip out my blicky. I friggin' send Ash flying. I do a peek here, and that right here is what you need to learn. That's very important at this round. Peeker's advantage. Now, for all of you who don't recall, Counter-Strike recently had a debate on 64 tick and 128 tick, which is how long it takes for the server to react on a movement, on a shot, on anything that comes from the client. Now, how does this count in with Rainbow Six Siege? First of all, let me explain to you what a tick is more clearly. A tick is a term for how long it takes for the server to update to match client side and server side. For games that are server side, such as CS:GO, which is primarily server side, there's less of a delay from client side view to the server side view. So you and your opponent or your teammate or anyone else will see the same thing that you're seeing most of the time, with around 128 or 64 milliseconds of downtime. Now, for example, 64 tick is when the server is updating 64 times per every 1 second, which is around 15.6 milliseconds per tick, which means every 15.6 milliseconds, the game matches the client to the server. 128 tick essentially halves the amount of time that it takes for the server to respond to the client. Now, why is this important? Right here is a visualized example. So, look at the first part. The example says that the client is standing still, and he is, that's the same position on the client side and the server side. Now, if he were to jump, then the tick would be processed, the server position and velocity would update based on input and gravity, and the server is now ahead of the client. So the client is not really up yet, but the server is. So that means that people can now see his head because he's jumped up, assuming he's behind like a body height, like a standing height box or something. Now the enemy see his head and he hasn't jumped up yet. Well, the client information finally goes to the new gameplay, to the new position. This doesn't matter for server side. And the tick finally processes, and the server position and velocity is updated based on the gravity. Now, the client is finally in the position where he should have been the tick before. Now, this means that before that previous tick, the server had the client, or the player, peeking that box when his head was not over yet on his side. So that means that anyone looking who has connection to server, they now see the enemy, and they see his head an entire tick before he jumps up. So that means that they have another tick to shoot him, and by the time he's finally got his head up there and they shoot, he won't really have a chance to shoot back or really use his attempt there for the reason he jumped. Now let's see the arguments for 128 and the downsides of 64. The arguments of CS:GO to run primarily on 128 tick is because 128 tick leads to smoother hit registration and bullet tracking. The gameplay is more responsive immediately instead of you having to wait not 64 milliseconds, like 15 milliseconds. And there's less time between ticks, and there's a fair feeling during firefights or peaks because you're not dying before you see them at that long of a difference, and it's better for fast reaction-based gameplay, which is great in games such as Rainbow Six Siege or Call of Duty, which I hate anyway, and Counter-Strike itself. Now for the cons, it's less accurate for peeker detection, which is very important in my upcoming point. The shots feel like they miss or don't register because the server's updating at a slower time. So if you die too early, then you'll your shot just won't register at all. However, this is also something that became very popular due to something that happened at a professional final. I'll run the clip right here. You probably all know this message from Copypastas. Also, all you go watch 3 Quick Phillips video. It's a great video, a lot better than mine, and I'm sure you'll all love it. So here's his take on it.
I'll be quickly winning the round and defusing the bomb. What happened? Well, ignoring the Deagle's inaccuracy for a second, it looks like the first shot was a miss. A last-second adjustment from Nico overshot the target, meaning he did miss ever so slightly. The second shot looked like a hit, then the third looked like it missed again because of the last-minute crouch by Simple. But how much can we trust these recordings of the round? I got these video files from a slow-motion recording of the 128-tick GoTV demo file. This records everything in the match 128 times a second, and I'd say is one of the best playbacks we can hope for. However, I still don't think they're 100% accurate. For a start, they interpolate character model movements, and so there are minor variations every time you play it. For example, in this recording, Nico's body fell down the ladder, while in this one, it collapsed on the side. On this recording, the gun animations bugged out. And on another, it looked like the crosshair was right on Simple when he fired that first shot. But if we watch the official stream, we can make out a last-second mouse adjustment from Nico that moved the crosshair off to the side of Simple's head slightly. So I guess you could make arguments for whatever reality you'd like to live in, but by most metrics, that first shot did miss. But things are never this.
The reason this is so important is because Rainbow Six Siege runs on something known as 48-tick. A big problem with 60-tick is not just the slower server updates, but also the fact that Rainbow Six is client authoritative to reduce the perceived lag. So it trusts what the player's client said that it did, and it is showing you the client before the server updates. So the client updates before the server, which is the opposite of Counter-Strike. Combining the 60-tick and the client-sided thing, well, in a netcode, also a netcode that isn't tuned for the high-stakes duels, Peeker's advantage becomes obnoxiously strong. So playing aggressive and peeking early, then that means that you will see them before they see you because of client side and Peeker's advantage, which is pretty much using this to your advantage, using this this problem to your advantage. And until Rainbow Six becomes server-sided, or it holy crap, it improves its tick rate, then right now Peeker's advantage is an extremely strong, I guess you could say, bug that you should be utilizing. So to end off my video, that is why you should be using Peeker's advantage more in your gunfights, more in your games, more every single round, especially if you're running shotgun, because just that 15, no, they don't even run 60-tick. So for more than 15.7 milliseconds, you have the opportunity to shoot them before they even see you on their own screen. So the tick speed is extremely important, extremely influential, and you should really be utilizing this in your games as much as you can, all the time. And this is why I say you should play aggressive. If you have any disagreements with me, please take it to the comments, and I will gladly use it for a follow-up video. Thank you. See ya. Win more games. Get better. And goodbye.